Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brownstone. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle, and you are listening to Numbers Don't Lie, where you learn to get out your feelings so you can make the best decisions for yourself, your family, and your business. Well, guys, we have been kicking it together, talking about women's history. We've met some amazing people. We've heard some amazing stories so far. And so this week is no different. I have someone that's very innovative, very creative, that's definitely paved a way for herself and her family. I don't think I've met anyone like her or has created anything like she's created. So when we talk about history, she is definitely making history. So get your seats ready, get your pencils ready for all those out there that are aspiring business owners that have an idea in their head. Get a little inspiration from today's episode. I'm going to bring her up in just a few seconds. But y'all ready? I don't know if y'all ready. Are y'all ready? Because we've already heard from a media mogul whose influence and reach is already growing. I've already, laid the foundation about women's history and the women that are making history, that even though they don't always get recognized for it. So it's time to just take it to another level. Let's bring up Miss Aneesha Smith. Hi, Aneesha.
Hey.
How's it
Doctor,
going?
data scientist. Thank you for having me. It's going great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for saying yes. I have to let the people know what history looks like because y'all looking at it right now. Okay. This is history. First of all, let me just say I'm a little bit of Black history too. I'm a little bit of women's history. But Miss Aneesha is out here just doing the dang on thing. And I wanted to make sure I shared her with the audience because y'all need, if I know her, y'all have to know her. I'm trying not to
Mm,
withhold good things from you guys, okay?
yes. Hey.
So, Aneesha, could you tell us a little more about yourself?
Sure. So, I'm Aneesha Smith, and I am a nurse. I'm an obstetric nurse. I've been nursing for 22 years, at the bedside, helping usher life into the world. And I'm married. My husband is also my co-owner of Reflections by Zana, and I have three children, aged 26, 17, and 15. We are family-run business, and we do everything together in this business. And I am owner of Reflections by Zaina, the founder, I should say, founder of Reflections by Zaina, an e-commerce brand that celebrates representation in the workplace, primarily for healthcare and allied health.
I love it.
Yeah,
Okay, so do you currently still practice?
yeah. I'm active license. I work like 2 days a week.
Okay. I know that's right. See, I have a friend. I've been trying to get her to get a schedule like that. I'm like, girl, you got to get your own thing so you can just like work when you want. I
It's
got to tell
nice
her to watch
because
this episode.
I still can kind of keep my pulse on what's going on in healthcare, what's trending. And I do enjoy what I do. I mean, I really do enjoy nursing. I enjoy teaching my patients. I enjoy, the woman in its entirety, during
Mhm.
women's health and that whole space of pregnancy and childbirth. So it's not a stretch for me to just continue to work a couple of days a week and still, build my business until like you, I'm done. Right now, I'm enjoying it.
I love it. Oh, so everyone heard that you're a nurse and your product caters to the healthcare space. But can you tell us a
Mhm.
little more what inspired you? Just like, you know what, I'm out to do this.
Sure. Sure. So essentially, we have an artistic family, and my daughters, 5 years ago, 2015, 2016, they started picking up an art. They started bringing their work to me to show me, Mom, look what I'm doing, look what I drew. And it was not representative of them at
Oh,
all. They
wow.
loved anime, like, so they loved like, comics and things. And so the things that they were being exposed to did not look like them.
Mhm.
My two daughters, and I was like, obviously, honey, that's amazing. However, there's nothing. Is there anything out here? Like, this is now we're very heavy into social now and heavy into cross promotion and cross pollination. And, now Black art is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But then not really. And so when my daughters were coming up and they were really trying to hone in on their skills artistically, there was nothing. There was really nothing that represented them, nothing that looked like them. And so I really set out to start a family-based business even then, where I incorporated painting into these wooden silhouettes, and we would just like paint the silhouette, and it was art at the time. It was not what it is today.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even the wooden badge that I painted. So fast forward, I started my art business, Reflections by Zana. It started as art, and I bought all this stuff, and I had all these, creative person go crazy, me and Hobby Lobby and all that. We were best of friends, Michael, like every day, every other day. Built it out to where I was taking custom orders. I had done art for my coworkers. My daughters, would come over, their friends. We would paint together. And but it was very, very slow moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of like, it's creative and stuff, but like I didn't know anything about business. Really, I just knew I had passion and I was creative, and that was it. And so I was doing went to a happy hour with one of my good friends. She's the very first nurse friend that I made when I moved to Houston in 2005. And I went to meet her for dinner one day. She said, "How's your Etsy thing? Like, what do you do? How is that
Your
going?"
Etsy thing.
And I was like, I mean, it's cool. But, I'm not really making a lot of sales. I'm not really. So then she thought about it. So what are you selling? And I was like, well, I mean, I do the artwork, and I think I maybe had some earrings, and I was doing wooden earrings. I would paint those. And she said, well, wait, well, what about like making that big art, that you paint little, and making it small and painting it small so we could wear it to work? And it was like this light bulb. I was like, ding, I need to try that. And I was like, that's exactly what happened. I said, I'm going to try it. I told her. I went back to my supplier and I said, okay, I need this big 11-inch piece of wood to be 3 inches, and send me, 500 of them. And so they did that. I started experimenting with my art and added badges and created, I actually kept the art for a little while alongside the badges. The badges hit. They hit immediately. I actually had one badge. One badge. It was RN at the time. That was the only title I was doing at the time because I was a nurse and I was in a nursing group. And somebody just found me like randomly on Etsy. She bought a badge. Like Instagram was popping, so like I would post the things to Instagram, and I would get sales just based off of, engagement from Instagram. This is all wood right now. And she shared this post in a nursing group, Black nurses group I was in, and that cha-ching went off for like 30 hours.
Wow.
30 hours of consecutive sales I made. Not
Wow.
even at the prices that I would charge today, because I was cheap back
Right,
then.
right, right.
I was just trying to get my feet wet. But that was like the single day of validation. It was a single day of validation that we like had hit something, and we had hit a nerve, and representation was missing. It was missing in the workplace. And fast forward to about, I don't know, 2018 or so. From 2016, May, around Nurses Week, to about 2018, 2019, I was exclusively hand painting wooden badges, have painted over 14,000. Right.
Wait,
Right. So
you said
all I
you had
offered for
hand
the
painted
first 2.5 years,
14,000?
and this is while working, I had 2 jobs. I had a PRN job and my main job. So that's 4 days a week. It's 48 hours a week of work. I would, on my off shifts, be painting. And I ended up making badges for judges, doctors, physical therapy, occupational therapy. People just found us. So I understood even more. It wasn't just about nursing. It was about every Black woman with a profession. They would text me, they would email me. I'm being mistaken for housekeeping. I'm being mistaken for, ancillary staff, for secretaries, for students. Like nobody wanted to believe I was a professional. And now they have to see it. Now is the badge says it. And it was so powerful.
Wow.
What this little 3-inch badge was doing, for our community. And so before I branched out into what we have today, we just reinvested into different types of representation. We branched into D9 sororities, and we were doing, big stuff, bags and travel accessories, and we were vending. Like, this is all pre-COVID. So this is how we were able to just grow in the representative space. It was new. And we were able to invest to sell these things in person. And so that's kind of how we don't even look, the way we look now is not how we looked then. COVID changed that.
Yeah.
It forced us to zero back in on e-commerce because we were doing tons of vending. We were popping up at sorority events. People knew us because of our accessories and the artwork. We had commissioned artwork that was beautiful, and customized for us. Like, we were just fully in it. And COVID, of course, shut that down from a face-to-face standpoint.
Right.
And then we had to circle back and say, okay, how can we keep this going, but without like sacrificing like the community that we had built? And so, because healthcare was primarily working COVID, obviously, we doubled down on that. I still painted badges through COVID. I'm still painting, though, not exclusively anymore, because my husband was like, "Hey, I think we may want to branch out. You literally, like, you're getting carpal tunnel, like your hand is cramping, like you painting and painting and painting, and you paint all of your days off. And we got to find something else that we can, put your creativity into that does not require you. Because if something happens to you, then we don't have a business." So I listened to him after some tussling back and forth. And we branched out into like a rubber badge, full color badge, and an enamel, kind of lapel pin type of material badge, and then our very full color square badges. So that's what we have, like, primarily. But we were able to create way more stuff. Like, we were able to create backpacks. Custom backpacks are working, and zipper, like, just so much stuff that just stayed in our vein and served our customers. And it was just such an organic experience. And it's great. The blessing is that we never really made a wrong move, because we were never in a space that was saturated. So like everything we pretty much put out there was eaten up because there was nothing else out there. There was nothing else out there. So in that way, it was historical for us and for the industry to be able to have, this particular business taking the time to create these professions that spoke specifically to all of my accomplishments. And I could wear that in the workplace. That's really what it was. And grown women, older women, retired women reach out to me and say that they've never seen anything like this in all of their years. So, I mean, it's still very meaningful. Still to this day, we still get so excited. They're still equally excited about what we put out, and the fact that they are visible, is really about visibility.
Wow. Y'all, just go ahead, and wherever you are, just go ahead and give a whoop whoop, a hand clap to Aneesha, because she has, when I say trailblazer, so I want to point out a few things that she said. First of all, because remember, data is just information, right? So everyone, I tell people I'm a data scientist, their eyes glaze over. I'm like, no, I'm funny, I'm cool, like, it's okay, don't shut me out.
Boring.
But when I really talk about data, I'm really just talking about being able to take in information and make good decisions. And so from the first thing I heard you say was, my daughters came to me and everything they were painting didn't look like me, didn't look like us. So I'm just like, that's information you took in. So it's just like, okay, that was a seed planted. Then, you were trying some stuff, didn't work, wasn't working, taking off as you wanted. You were willing to pivot, because a lot of times we'll just keep like, well, let me just try this. Let me, like, you keep doing the same thing. You see, you're trying something different, but you're really not. And it's just like you're wearing yourself thin, but it's just like you were willing, you were receptive. You took in another piece of information, okay, another seed planted. Let's try this. And she did. And honestly, that is I think one of the first episodes of February, we're talking about love. That's literally what happened. It was a parent-child relationship, but it was like, okay, let me take this in, let me try this. Okay, that doesn't work. Let me take this in, let me try this. Okay. And that's all having data does. Like, you get to try stuff, you measure the results. Does it work? Does it not work? Okay. If it doesn't work, let's try something else. And it's an iteration until you achieve success, or at least whatever your idea of success is. So I don't know if y'all had caught any of that, but she was taking in stuff. Like, it wasn't like, it didn't just happen overnight. It was a process.
No.
So listen, wherever you
and
are,
listening.
wherever you are, wherever you're listening from, it's a process. And just because your idea didn't hit the first time like you wanted, it doesn't mean it won't. Just keep taking in information, keep taking in ideas, try it out, and then you have to measure the success. Did it work? Did it not work? So I just had to
Mhm.
pause and say that. And while we're paused, let me just remind people who they're listening to. You are currently listening to Numbers Don't Lie on KCCR, the Brownstone, with me, Dr. Michele. We are smack dab in the middle of Women's History Month. You can follow us on Brownstone Worldwide on Facebook. You can also check us out on brownstoneworldwide.com. If you do not have the KCCR Brownstone app, go ahead and download that now because you can listen any and everywhere you want to be. And
Mhm.
me, Dr. Michele, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Mogul Beginnings. That's MOGUL, Mogul Beginnings. And you can look up mogulbeginnings.com, all that jazz. I do have some great stuff coming up, but we'll get back to that later. I want to dive right back into Miss Aneesha because she was just telling us how the bomb she was, her ideas, and how it just took off, this empire that she's building. We are listening to Women Making History, building a 7-figure e-commerce business, because that's exactly what Aneesha has done and is continuing to do. So, all right, Miss Aneesha, next question I have for you. How do you know which design to create next?
So as a as a creative, it's more like I had to have my husband, props to my husband, because he is like you. He's a numbers guy. And if you left it to me, like, and for a while it was that way. I was just spitting out designs, different iterations of designs. I mean, and at the time, like I said, we were filling that space.
Mm-hmm.
So couldn't really go wrong. But now that we've gotten to be, much bulkier with our products, I have to pull back
Mm-hmm.
and be more intentional about what we design and why. And so he's been integral in helping me based on the data
Okay.
and what's selling and what's been selling and what hasn't really been moving. That's really nowadays is how we design. So we've pivoted again. I won't even say pivoted, but we've definitely approached our badge design differently now, and mostly because we're on marketplaces now that are outside of our typical avatar. So we have an Amazon brand store, and we also are on Etsy, of course, still on Etsy, and those customers are not necessarily in mass our target customer. A lot of our customers came from there, but the people who live on rbzexpressions.com, that's a concentrated group of women who are looking for a particular thing. And so because we now have expanded where we're available, we are also expanding what we offer. And so he's been really integral in helping me decide how to design, like why why behind the design, and to test new things out in new markets. And I think that's kind of an evolutionary process in
Mm-hmm.
products. You're not going to spitfire the same design, or a very similar design forever. Like, you have
Yeah.
to become innovative at some level. And so I think being on Amazon and then just expanding our audience on Etsy has forced, our hand in the testing. So we are now doing more testing and thinking outside of the box, still in representation, still full color, still in ways that other businesses aren't doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because we mass produce and we don't do everything little thing by hand. I think that's give us a huge advantage. We commit to our designs and we mass produce them. But I think that for me, that's my pivot. It's like not implementing on every single thing that pops into my mind. As a creative, we want to do it and we want to start a whole bunch of stuff. We've definitely pulled back and have become more intentional. So if I could speak to you from the future, I would say to look at the data, creative person. Um, Look at the data before you make the decision to either recreate, do a remix, whatever. See what was working, see what people were asking you for to begin with. Don't give out everything that nobody's asking for just because you like it. And that was
That's
something
the mic drop.
I had to come to grips with too as a creative, because we think everything is bomb.
Right.
Everything I think of is gonna work. It's gonna be awesome and amazing. And sometimes in the marketplace, it may not be true. It may not be true right away. It may require a couple of edits,
Yeah.
and so he was really like headbangingly, like we would go back and forth about this because I'm
Wow.
an artist. But
And you
at the end of
sensitive
the
about your stuff.
day, at the end of the day, how we do things now is around testing. It's around seeing what the trends are. It's just more closely following, the data in our arena of products and e-commerce and sometimes trending. Most of the time we are the trend. But as we test the Amazon marketplace and gathering more customers on Etsy marketplace, we've kind of stepped outside. So that's how we're doing it right now, based on the numbers.
Y'all, I don't even need to reiterate anything. Okay. Aneesha knew what the assignment was. Listen, I told her this wasn't a technical show, but she just went ahead and said it for me. Creatives, all those who I literally just dropped something recently about that. Like all the people that checked out because you struggle with fractions in elementary school. Oh, I'm not good at math. I hate stats. Listen, she just told you to grow and scale your business. You can't just be out here just doing stuff. It takes strategy. You need to look at the data, test things, and always go back to look at the data. So that was a mic drop. That's all I'm gonna say. So and that applies to more than just creators. That's everybody. Okay, it's
Yes, I
everybody.
think creatives, we take it the hardest because you just ain't even trying it. Okay, I mean, you would say it, okay.
And this is what I talk about the show. Like we have to learn how to get out of our feelings because
Mm-hmm.
if we're always driven by our feelings and emotions, we'll just stay on the floor. We'll stay in bed. Oh, they didn't like my
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I mean, this is for non.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little bit of creativity, not probably as much as
Mm-hmm.
probably you probably got as much
Ooh,
creativity I have in
it's
your
head to
pinky.
toe, head to
You
toe.
probably got all of this in your pinky. But for me, like everybody, whenever you have something that you think is good, it does hurt your feelings when you feel like no one wants it or or they're not willing to buy it, like, oh, it's me. And it's just like, calm down, have your little moments, but at some point you got to get back up and let's look at the real. Let's look at the data, what's working, what's not working. So I'm really glad you said that because it's really not just for creatives.
And as a founder as well, we typically are creative. And so another hack in building branding, especially in products, is to have somebody on your team that is passionate about numbers, like you are passionate about creativity, and will hold you accountable. Because again, no matter where I go and how I educate and where I look for help in our growth, it's going to circle back to, well, what does the data say? What is your conversion rate? What is your top selling product? How much are you spending here? What is your cost per acquisition? Those are all data driven decisions. You can't make that stuff up. It either it is or it isn't. And so again, creative founders, talking from the future, get comfortable not even interpreting data on a high level, but just get comfortable detaching yourself emotionally from the numbers.
That's good. Yeah. And that's
Because
that's advice for
then,
me too. So I'm like,
yeah,
it's
I
not
mean,
me.
because then it just helps you make those. And I mean, it takes some culling because you're passionate, you're trying to grow, and you just know something's gonna hit. You just know if you do A, B, and C, this thing will take off. And a lot of times, we hit, but when we don't, or when it's time to pull back, or when it's time to scale down, or when it's time to kind of shift, that's been my biggest lesson. It's been looking, get comfortable being uncomfortable from a creative standpoint. And in data and numbers, it's an uncomfortable space.
Yeah.
Because it is not creative based. It is not natural, if you will, naturally occurring. You know what I mean? It doesn't just come out of you. You gotta like zone in, and you gotta like look at this. This ain't selling. Or look at this. This is selling awesomely, and we may consider, expanding and creating a different version of this because it's doing so well. So detaching my feelings from the numbers, again, is probably another huge nugget I would drop around data, because and history and period. A lot of founders, we move so fast and we are driven by passion, and there's not a lot of space for analytics there, because it's a downer. It is. It's like cost per acquisition. You know what I mean? Like, okay,
That's why you
can I
need
get
somebody
back to
like me
creating? Yes.
on your
So,
team.
but it's important, and the people that want to help you, whether they themselves are creatives or not, gonna want to know. They're still gonna want to know. So you need to make it a point to know. And for me, that's uncomfortable just
Yeah.
because I've been doing this for 5 years, and literally the last maybe year and a half, I really started listening to my husband in the regards of looking at the numbers, looking at data, and really, really looking at data to see what we need to keep and what we need to, not do anymore or not do again or not
Yeah.
continue after our first run. So,
I love this because she
yeah.
said, I mean, she said a lot of great things. You see why she's on the show. But one thing she said, if you're not like, if numbers is a downer for you, not good at it, or you checked out at the fractions, it's important. Like she said, it's important to at least have someone on the team, and you need to know a little bit yourself. Because I think sometimes when we talk about hiring for your deficits, or like, you get somebody to, do where you're not strong at, it's just like that doesn't mean you can't know anything. Like you can't be totally blind to certain parts of your
Mm-hmm.
business. And something as important as the success of your business, you can't be blind to that. So Aneesha said something really great was at least at a high level, you need to know a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like you should be able to look at a dashboard or a couple of
Mm-hmm.
metrics and be like, oh, okay, we're good. We're doing pretty good. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Not like,
And
I don't know what that means.
nowadays,
I don't
the
want to look at
tech,
it and you're losing money and don't know it.
and you're right, exactly. Or you just refused because the idea was amazing and you meditated for, 24 hours and you got a great deal from the supplier and, you got an influencer that
Aneesha, you
sold
stepping on
three of
toes.
them. Like, for real, like, at the end of the day, is your audience going to purchase? And the purchase is the data point that we care the most about in business. And that's whether you're service based or product based. We want to know what is going to multiply that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was uncomfortable talking about it just because it was not my zone of genius.
Yeah.
But I married somebody who was geeked out about that, like I was geeked out about ideas. And he was able to kind of, reframe the importance of knowing these things and just really paying some attention to it,
Yeah.
before you make these creative decisions.
That's
So,
awesome. You said one thing, because I mean you already hit because I was gonna ask what advice would you give, but you
mhm.
done gave. Listen, she already gave like 3 to 5 points for especially for y'all creative people, but non creatives, a lot more, nerdy people like myself. You totally can listen to her advice too. Like it was not, even though she was talking to people like her, it applied to us too. But
Mhm.
so the advice was given. So if you missed it, I need you to go ahead and rewind, run that back. If you listen on the app, I need you to go on to brownstoneworldwide.com/BWTV or go to Brownstone Worldwide on Facebook and find this video because she gave so many nuggets. So we don't really need to rehash that. But one thing you mentioned was you said something about what the people want. So
Mhm.
how often are you looking at like customer reviews and like their feedback?
Oh, 100%. I am still kind of attached to that emotionally because, coming up in nursing, the customer experience, even from a clinical perspective, is heavily regarded by our hospital systems, by systems, period. They
Mm-hmm.
put lots of money into education. They put money into surveying their patients. Post, I'm sure if you've ever been in a hospital, you got something in the mail, you got a text, you got something saying, how was your visit? You got some sort of piece of automation that reviewed it because that is data. And
Yeah.
so we, luckily, blessing, I took that, data or not, that customer experience was important to me from the beginning.
Yeah.
And so right now, when you talk data and reviews and customer feedback, we like, I don't know, our average on Amazon right now is like 4 stars. And that's hard. I mean, because we just got on the platform in September, and you know how people are. Either you love it or you hate it on Amazon. So I always got like one side eye open when I'm looking at reviews. But when you're confident in what you're doing, and it is some passion driven, like they understand. I try to perfect that experience because it's a short one. You
Yeah.
find me, you click, you buy. I do my part. I ship to you, you get it, you love it, and hopefully are compelled to review it. So that's really the relationship. And then the rest of it is nurturing. If you decide to join our list or whatever you decide to do, you will hear from us. On Etsy, it's even shorter because we don't have customer data, given to us for Etsy. We either
Yeah.
know you came here new or you were a repeat customer, and that's it. So we have to over deliver, and we have to be very cognizant of the feedback and reviews. We are star sellers on Etsy, which means we have at least a 4 point something. like over 4.5, 4.7 or above. And we're
Mm-hmm.
like at 4.9 with like over 2,000 reviews. So that's over
Wow.
several years. Our Facebook reviews are highly regarded, 4.8. We're 4.8 or 9 on Etsy and over 4 on Amazon. So when you talk
Wow.
about data and the customer experience, that I was able to directly pull that out of my experience as a nurse and how important I saw the hospitals, and just anybody, any person is going to want to be able to feel connected to the person that they're purchasing from, even if it's just answering an email within 24 hours, within 12 hours, within
Yeah.
2 hours. Picking up the phone, we just being personal. You hit me on Instagram, you're probably going to get me or my
Oh.
husband at the very most. Like we don't like I don't have anybody like playing me. I am myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's me. So
Mhm.
right now it's valuable and the customers see that.
Mhm.
And we get a lot of loyalty, out of that,
I love
from that
it.
perspective. So that's like data and emotion,
Yeah.
customer reviews, but we take that very serious, very,
I
very
love
serious.
it. Look, you got us living. You got us on a high note. So tell the people how they can just fall in love with you. How do they find you?
Well, we're under Reflections by Zana. If you Google us, we're everywhere by name. So that's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Um, we are on YouTube. We're building out YouTube channel. It's kind of skinny right now, so we're working on getting our subscribers up with that. But rbzexpressions.com is where you can shop with us directly. And then, of course, if you look up Reflections by Zana on Etsy, we have a store there. And if you look up Reflections by Zana on Amazon, we have a store there.
Y'all need to reach out to Aneesha, Reflections by Zana. That's Zana. She says she's a real person that answers her DMs. Now don't bother her now about some foolishness.
Yeah,
You
right.
done dropped a whole bunch of gems here, but don't, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I so appreciate you dropping by and sharing your presence, your space with us here in the Brownstone. You are so welcome here, and you are welcome back anytime you want.
Awesome.
I just loved it. I didn't know how amazing you were, so I learned something new
Thank you.
myself.
That's always a pleasant surprise.
So, and thank you guys that are listening on KC Starter Brownstone and on brownstoneworldwide.com. Thank you for tuning in. I am Dr. Michelle. You've been listening to Numbers Don't Lie. Again, you can follow us on brownstoneworldwide.com and go in there and check out what else we got going on. We got some articles and some news things. We got a Brownstone Living magazine that comes out every month. So if you are not subscribing, you want to make sure you go ahead and subscribe. I think that's all I got. Guys, visit me on Mogul Beginnings and Instagram and Facebook. Thanks again, guys, for visiting us, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.